Hello my dudes, what is up? Welcome to my reaction video about the movie The Last Emperor. Just kidding, okay. So on to the video. Okay, so today we're gonna do a movie reaction about Bernardo Bertolucci's epic The Last Emperor. The movie talks about the life of Puyi being the last emperor of China in the Qing dynasty. He was born on the 7th of February, 1906 and died on the 17th of October, 1967 due to kidney cancer. Okay, let's really get this started. The first thing I have to say about the movie is I was a bit discouraged to watch it as it is 3 hours and 40 minutes long. But still watches the Endgame and Infinity War even if it's that long and even waits for it.
I smell cat.
I am really sorry about that, I live for memes, ha 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 ha. Okay, it's fact time. First, did you know that The Last Emperor was the first Western feature to film in the Forbidden City, which is a traditional palace of the Chinese emperor?
Another one.
And at that time, 1986, Steven Spielberg's film Empire of the Sun was filming at exactly the same time but at Shanghai. Oops, wrong one, hahe. Here it is.
Another one.
And also, did you know the book Twilight and the Forbidden City? Oops, wrong one, hahe. Here it is. Written by Reginald Fleming Johnston, also known as Puyi's tutor, is referenced in the movie.
Another one.
Lastly, they won 9 Academy Awards including Best Picture. Okay, for the summary. The movie starts with Puyi arriving at the Chinese prison. He then attempts suicide but he was saved by the prison governor. But moving on. As the film continues to go on, it shows the flashbacks of Puyi's youth and childhood spent on the Forbidden City. First, at 1908 we would see that Puyi was summoned by the Empress Dowager to the Forbidden City and declared to be the new emperor. But minutes later she happens to die after being introduced to Puyi, which for me seemed to be the most unrealistic scene and a bit overdramatic. Another fact, Empress Dowager. Yes, she was shown by a short time but her life is actually interesting. She was a courtesan who was first brought to the palace in the 1850s and she manipulated the power behind the throne Puyi's predecessor, who is called the Guangxu Emperor, who tried to rule in his own rights, but the Empress Dowager put a kibosh on that as she led palace coup that put him under house arrest essentially for the rest of his life. Okay, back to summary. At this young age Puyi does not understand what is happening around him and his only known person is Amo, his wet nurse. And all he wanted is to go back to his mother, but sadly he can't, and as time passes by he now knows that he cannot leave the Forbidden City. Five years later, Puyi being 8 years old, we would see he is now used to his life in the palace. At this time he met his family. He was visited by his mother and younger brother Puyi. While his brother stayed with him as his companion and playmate, we would also see here that his brother will tell him that he is no longer emperor now that China is a republic. At the same day, Amo, his wet nurse, had to leave because the emperor is now all grown up and wouldn't be needing a wet nurse anymore.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes, got nowhere to run. The night goes on as I'm fading away. I'm sick of this life, I just wanna scream. How could this happen to me?
As few years pass, Puyi at his teenage life now has a tutor named Reginald Fleming Johnston that gives him information about what is happening outside the Forbidden City, and about the Western world, also the one who gave Puyi a bicycle. But in here Puyi tries to escape the Forbidden City, but every time he tries he would fail. He even threw his mouse at the gate. So Mr. Johnston told Pu Yi that the best way to escape is through marriage, and with that he then married 2 women. First is Wanyong the Empress, and Wen Hsi was his secondary consort. But wait, you think that Pu Yi only married 2 women?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, 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 no.
He married 4. Yes, you heard me right, 4. Okay, 4. This is how it happened. Back to the facts, yo. Wanyong is chosen to be his first wife as the Empress, and Wen Hsi was his secondary consort. The movie makes you think that Pu Yi only had 2 wives. He actually had 4. His last wife is Li Yujin, married in 1945, and where Pu Yi is 37 years old and his 4th wife is only 15 years old. This happened because his second wife had divorced him and the first wife was completely destroyed with opium. Because at 1934 Japanese had Chinese hooked on opium as a great source for money, and with that his second wife got ruined because of this, also his mother. And for his third wife died in mysterious circumstances. It may be possible that she was murdered by the Japanese. And with that the Japanese minders decided that Pu Yi needs a new wife or consort, and he selected her in a photo bride show. Okay, back to the summary. And in 1924 Pu Yi and other occupants were ordered to leave the Forbidden City, and with his wives they lived in Tianjin. At this time their names are changed, Pu Yi as Henry and Elizabeth for Wanzhong, and here Mr. Johnston left for him to go back to the West.
How can we say goodbye?
As we said hello.
Farewell, Mr. Johnston.
Farewell, Your Majesty.
Then Pu Yi goes to Manchukuo, known as the Japan Puppet State, and the Japanese crowned him as an emperor to use him to invade Manchuria. But here his second wife asked for a divorce, but Pu Yi won't accept it. Instead she ran away from him. Then Pu Yi was need to sign in order to have a new prime minister, and Wanyong then became addicted to opium and had gotten crazy. He then was caught by the Russian soldiers in 1945 after the fall of Japan, and he was imprisoned of being a war criminal for betraying his country during the World War II. He spent his life in a prison cell in Fushun for almost a decade. Then he was released at 1959. After this he became a gardener. He then visited the Forbidden City not as an emperor but as a tourist. Then he spends the rest of his life being a gardener for 8 years. Then dies of kidney cancer, but in the movie it shows that when he showed the container to the son of the guardian he then disappears. This shows that he is believed to be reincarnated as the cricket. And that is the end for the summary. The movie is quite sad because it just looks like that Pu Yi is the loneliest boy in the world, but to me he just looked trapped inside like a prisoner in the Forbidden City. And when Pu Yi tries to escape I think it's the best for him, because who would like to be trapped inside and not knowing anything happening outside of you? And even when his mother died he is still not allowed to leave outside to see his mother, but even if he is an emperor he can't even go out of the Forbidden City even if he could do anything he wants. In the ending I was happy for Pu Yi because he is now free. And the scene where Mr. Johnston would go back to the West is really heartwarming, the way they said goodbye to each other. But the movie was great to watch, but because the movie was very lengthy and was slowly not getting directly to the point, so you may lose interest while watching the movie, and there were some unnecessary scenes like this one.
What are you doing?
Now we're engaged.
The actors did a great job acting the characters, especially the one who did Pu Yi as a teenager. Sadly the name wasn't there. Also John Lone as Pu Yi an adult, he did a great job too. The cinematography was great despite that it was made during 1987. The lighting was also nice. The editing of the movie was ordinary, and the small details like the timestamps helped me more to understand the movie. The music was good, but it seemed to lack a bit of sound effect at some scenes. To sum it all up, the movie was great to watch, great actors and everything. It was worth the watch. I learned many things about China and about Pu Yi, and I recommend this movie to the people who are interested in history and the culture of China. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. This was Erica Simon. Peace out. Yo. Before I leave you people, have a happy holidays, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.